Hello and welcome to Odds on Serie A Match Day 20. After the midweek games, we have Inter as big favorites, top of the table to win the Serie A. Big week for the Nerazzurri. They won. Milan and Napoli drop points. Leo, on Sunday we have Inter-Napoli, 4 points between them. It could be partita scudetto, as they say in Italy.
Yes, absolutely, Edu, and it's been a midweek match day in Italy with the relegation battle teams doing very well, with Como keeping their dream alive, with Inter now, as you said, 4 points in front of everyone else, and with Milan disappointing once again at home, and with Napoli at least rescuing a point at the end at the Diego Armando Maradona.
Okay, well, guys, let's enjoy this Serie A. By the way, congratulations to Oddspedia, to all of you. Thank you, 40K subscribers. Finally, we want to grow the family, so tell your friends that we exist. So hopefully we can keep growing and keep doing the videos to analyze what is happening in European football and hopefully later in the summer in the World Cup. So thank to you guys, to all of you. And now let's enjoy Serie A. Let's go on with the show. Let's start, Leo, with the games we have on Saturday. 4 games. First one is a really good one at the Lake. Como Bologna 6 against the 8th, although we have Como in way better form than Bologna. Different trajectories, we can say. Opposite ones, because Como won the last 3 games 2-0. Easy rivals, we have to say. Pisa, Udinese, and Lecce. And Bologna only 1 point in the last 4 Serie A games, lost to Atalanta or Inter recently, Leo.
Yes, Edwin, and the dream is more than alive at the Lake, because they have 1 game in hand and they could be in 4th, provided they win everything they have left to play, including this one, a very crucial one, or a very important one at the moment with Bologna. The second half for them in Tuscany, after a very evenly first period contested with Pisa, was very good. From the moment Maxi Perrone scored the 1-0, everything changed in favor of Fabregas' team. Perrone is becoming a crucial player for Fabregas in midfield. He was initially a defensive midfielder, one to sit in front of the back four. That's how he started in Vélez Sarsfield, and that's the position he played very little. Of course, he played at Manchester City, but with Fabregas now, he's entitled to arrive to the box. Sometimes 𝐻𝐞𝐿 will push forward almost as a second striker, and Perrone will occupy the space of 𝐻𝐻𝐿. And actually, his goal against Pisa was from that 𝐻𝐻𝐿 spot outside of the box. 𝗀𝗵ici𝘄 is doing very well, the Greek striker. He scored against Pisa. Now he reached the line of 𝐻𝐻𝐿 with 6 goals this season. Jesus Rodriguez provided another assist. He hasn't scored yet in Serie A, but he has 5 assists to his name, and slowly he's growing, and he's playing more regularly than at the beginning of the season, the ex-Betis player. Again, the European spot will be great enough for Como, but at the end of the day, if the Champions League keeps appearing there in the horizon, who's going to tell them not to dream with that? And Bologna are now arriving, 6 without the win in Serie A, just 2 points secure from the last 18 in play, and the 2-0 defeat at home with Atalanta not was only the 4th defeat in the last 6 in all competitions, but meant that also Atalanta went in front of them, and they are 7 points behind Como, so there is no pressure for Como going into this one. Have they done better with Atalanta than the last weekend in Inter, which they were dreadful, very poor performance? Well, probably yes, especially the second half, but the best from Bologna came after Atalanta was already 2-0 up. �𝐿𝐴 started to get busy in the last 25 minutes only, but before that 𝐿𝐴 was doing mostly anything or nothing in the goal of Atalanta. On the positive side for Bologna, they have scored in 7 of their 9 away games this season. They have actually a positive difference goal on the road, but also on the road they lost to Milan, Roma, and Inter. And probably 2 months ago, the odds would have been the other way around with 𝐿𝐴. And let's not forget, 𝐿𝐴 hasn't lost a single game at home in their last 13 matches. My take here, Edu, 𝐬𝐭𝐚𝐲 to win, 1.95.
All right, good game. This one, full-time result. Draw is a smart bet option for this game. Good odds also, 3.5. If Bologna are able to get a draw, I wouldn't discard this result, actually. Then we have Udinese Pisa. Udinese won away from home against Torino in the clash for the middle table. A game that we expected to be a draw, but they finally got the 3 points. Much more important this game for Pisa. Lost to Como. They are still the worst team at home in this area, unable to score a goal, only 1 goal playing at home. Leo, bottom of the table now, Pisa.
Yes, and very difficult for them at this point, Edu, not to feel threatened with the chance of relegation, which was always anyway a huge possibility since the start of the season. But we thought with their first few draws that maybe they could do something different. But the problem is what you mentioned: just 1 goal scored in 10 games at home, 5 defeats in the last 7 for Pisa, and with that record of 1 goal in 10 games at home, it's almost impossible or very difficult to stay in Serie A. On the road, at least, they scored in 5 of their last 6 games. And Udinese won the mid-table 𝐿𝐴 against, Udinese won in Turin. They had to get inspired by their best player so far this season, which is Niccolò Zaniolo. His goal against Torino was a proper Zaniolo goal, arriving to the box and keeping actually his cool to beat the goalkeeper. 5 goals in 17 games for Udinese in Serie A this season for Zaniolo, who has scored already as many in the previous 3 seasons in 64 games playing for Fiorentina, Atalanta, and Roma. I don't find the reason why he shouldn't get a goal from the Nazionale if he's still at this level in March, Edu. He's the type of player needed by Gattuso at this time, at least. Flair and mostly temper as well. The problem with Zaniolo is that sometimes he cannot control his temper, but when he's in the zone, he's a very, very good player. My take here, Edu, I don't have a doubt, is Udinese to win combined with Udinese first team to score. These two together, odds of 3.34.
And then we have Roma Sassuolo. Roma doing the job against the lesser teams. As we spoke before, they were able to bounce back after the defeat in Bergamo with a win in Lecce. We expect them to beat Sassuolo also. The bookies do the same, 1.6 for Roma to win. Even more important, Leo, seeing Ferguson and 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗀 in the score sheet, 2 players that we were criticizing actually fairly, in my opinion, in our previous video.
Yes, but look, it can't be perfect for Ferguson and 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗀 because 𝗀𝗏𝗏 got injured. At the same time he scored. The day before the game with Lecce, Roma inquired with Napoli the chance of getting a swap deal. 𝗀𝗏𝗏𝗀𝗏𝗏 going to the Diego Armando Maradona, and Lorenzo Lucas, who is also struggling, making his way to the Olimpico. But the last thing that Conte needs is another injured player, so that has been ruled out, and the one waiting at the door is Giacomo Raspadori. We mentioned him last show. Raspadori, who probably haven't sold a single t-shirt with his name in Madrid, is going to be a loan deal with Atletico with an option to buy for 20 million. On the performance side against Lecce, there was nothing spectacular, but it was a very necessary win to bounce back to winning ways. Gasperini is doing what he can, what he has, and in Puglia, between suspensions, injuries, players at the AFCON, or players being sick, he was missing 9 players. And there is a sense of Gasperini growing as well, frustrated with the club directors for not backing him better in the transfer market. After the game, he refused to speak to the media, even when at the end of the day, Roma is level on points with Juventus in fourth, and they are 2 points away from Napoli in third. And for Sassuolo, there weren't, of course, many positives to take in their 3-0 defeat at home with 𝐬𝐵, but at the same time, nothing to complain for a promoted team if they are crushed by a giant, and even less to complain when you are still far from the drop zone anyway. They show 1 win in the last 7 with 3 defeats. However, away from home, they won 3 and drew 3 of the last 7. They snatched points in the last 2 trips to Bologna and San Siro. But for Roma, yes, as you said, Lazio Edu is the type of game at home they win. In the case of Lecce was away, but again, it's in the context of the type of game that this team usually is winning this season. And they have done it as well at home. This season they beat Verona, Udinese, Parma, at Genoa at the 𝐵𝐵𝐴. That's why my take here is Roma to win combined with goals over 1.5. These two together, odds of 2.
And on Saturday also we have Atalanta Torino. Atalanta getting better and better and better. Still 5 points away from 𝐿𝐵𝐴, but getting good results for winning the last 5 Serie A games, only losing to Inter. Important win in the Dallara. And Torino, Leo, hit and miss completely this season. Difficult to predict, although very likely is better not to touch them. 5 defeats, 3 wins in the last 8 games. Here, I guess we should go all the way with Atalanta.
Yes, absolutely. It's been another poor spectacle for Torino in their game against Udinese. They cannot keep or take a leap forward, to be honest. It's 30 goals conceded so far, same as Verona and Fiorentina, but more than Lecce, Genoa, Parma, or Cremonese. I can't have any trust in them traveling to Bergamo against this Atalanta that have won 8 of their last 11 in all competitions since Palladino took over, and 4 of the last 5 in Serie A, and also with 3 clean sheets in the last 4 matches, 5 points away from European places. Against Bologna, they were the better team all the way through. Bellissima victoria, said Palladino, a beautiful win. 3 points that also, as I said before, took them over Bologna on the table. A win that came with a 𝐻𝐿𝐴 brace. The ex-Lecce striker was a last-minute replacement for Gianluca Scamacca, and he scored in 1 game the same amount he managed in 14 matches since arriving to Atalanta. And the first goal was a great team move from the right with Zappacosta, the 𝐻𝐿𝐴, and then the Belgian assisting 𝐻𝐿𝐴. Bologna did not need Rabaglia to make as many saves as in San Siro, but Atalanta could at least have won that game 3-0, to be honest. Edu, and let's remember they're doing it without not having, or they didn't have Scamacca for this game, but also without Kolasinac injured against Roma, and also without Lookman and 𝐻𝐿𝐴, who are both at the AFCON. All the way X1 for me here. Atalanta to win 1.67.
And for Sunday, Lecce Parma. This is for the relegation battle. Lecce 4 points away from Fiorentina. Parma 5 points. Parma lost to Inter, and Lecce, as we mentioned before, lost to Roma. Leo, I guess we shouldn't expect many goals here. Probably maximum 2 goals. I wouldn't expect more.
Yes, and I will go that way, Edu. And there is something we talk a lot about last season in terms of teams fighting for relegation. That is amazing to go to San Siro or Turin and pick up a point or even a win. But if you don't build on that, it's just a waste opportunity. So Lecce left Turin last week with a point, and with Roma was back to an indifferent form. Of course, I'm not claiming that Lecce should beat Roma, because they drew with Juventus, not at all. Roma is also out of Lecce's reach, but the spirit was different, the focus was different, and Roma, despite their own problems, had to do very little to overcome Lecce. But now with Parma is the type of game to build something. It's a real 6-pointer. A win could take them over Parma and even close to Torino for Lecce. They have fared well at home so far against teams of their own league. They won against Pisa and Torino. They showed draws with Verona and Sassuolo. And on Sunday it's going to be interesting because Parma can show also a big result for them, like a draw against Milan at home. But they have also done well against relegation battle teams with wins against Pisa and Verona, and they have taken a point against Sassuolo too. The pattern for Parma is that all those 7 points were taken away from home. This is there is parity in this match. Double chance either way hovers around 1.4, 1.5. No huge value there. Draw could seem appropriate here, 3.1. But I'm taking the goals market route. Goals under 2.25. Odds of 1.65 is still not way bigger than double chance, but still better.
And one of the games of the weekend is in the Franchi, Fiorentina, Milan. Fiorentina very, very close to win at the Olimpico against Lazio. Yes. We are seeing a better Fiorentina in the last weeks. And with a win here, they could leave finally the bottom three. And Milan, Leo, impossible to trust. We thought they learned about their mistakes and beating the small teams in this Serie A to try to fight for the Scudetto until the end. But on Thursday was another setback against Genoa.
Edwin, it could have been worse if Genoa had converted the penalty in the last ball of the game. And they are now 3 points behind Inter. It's clear and it is fair to say that Milan is its own worst enemy. To have dropped points at home against Cremonese, Pisa, Sassuolo and Genoa, well, it says it all. Difficult to sustain the Scudetto battle like this for a simple reason that leaves you with the task of not dropping points against most of the top teams. And they have done it so far because Milan won against Inter, Roma and Napoli, but they are shooting themselves in the foot way too often. A team which struggles against low blocks, clearly. Allegri won't tell anyone that they had the Scudetto aims after the match. He kept repeating he's not focused on that his team is not prepared for that, and that the goal is to finish in the top four. But whatever the objective, they will need to change a pattern that Milan plays very poor first half. It's been constantly happening that, and I said that last show with Cagliari, and that happened with Genoa as well. Second half, yes, okay, it looked better, all you want, but because as well Genoa got tired and so on. The defense was poor. 𝗀𝗵𝗄 could raise his hand in Colombo's goal. He was the one at fault. Colombo, actually, who is a Milan player on loan in Genoa. In the first half, everything that Milan has done on the ball was very lethargic. You put any Premier League to compare the speed of they move the ball next to Milan, and you would like to cry, especially when you see that first half, everything was very, very slow in Milan. But at least in the second half, yes, they managed to create chances. And now it's Fiorentina, this travel to Firenze, chaotic finale at the Olimpico for La Viola. They fought, or I fought as well. They got another second consecutive win. But in the end, I think the 2-2 with Lazio was a fair result. Very soft penalty call by the VAR to give it to 𝗀𝗄𝐿 and to Fiorentina on other time. De Gea first half was amazing, and he was probably the MVP. Or if I'm not giving him the MVP, is because Fagioli second half was outstanding, and because he provided the assist of the match day 19 for Robin Gosens to score. My take here, Edu, because it's difficult to read this Milan. When you trust them, they let you down. Fiorentina double chance. It worked, the Fiorentina double chance at the Olimpico, and I'm going the same way now against Milan. Fiorentina double chance 1.80.
Well, let's take a look at the smart bet, and it's going also for a double chance for Fiorentina, following what you said, 1.8, even if the Milan this year is delivering in the big games. First team to score, Fiorentina. The other pro tip for our tool, smart bet. Let's see if Milan are able to win here, or Fiorentina get the 3 points and put Genoa in trouble. Also in relegation, also 3 points away from Genoa, we have Verona playing against Lazio at home. Verona, one of the surprises also in midweek. They were 2-0 up at the first half at the Maradona. They ended up getting a point, a good point, I guess, and now they are playing against Doom Lazio. Leo, is only one win in the last 7 for the Celeste team.
Yes, and I guess Lazio wants as well January to finish, Edu, to know exactly which players will remain until the end of the season. Sarri, more than talking about the draw with Fiorentina, used the press conference to keep sending messages to the directors, repeating he hopes 𝐿𝐵𝗏𝗀𝗀 will stay, which it looks like the opposite, that he's going to leave for 𝐸𝐵𝗏𝗀. He also said that he was thinking that the French was one of the 7 or 8 players with whom Lazio should build the team for the future, but again, it doesn't seem this way. At least he got someone coming in, but it's very bizarre because Petar Radkov from Salzburg arrived to Lazio. To be honest, I don't have no idea how he plays, but neither Sarri, because he said that when he was asked about Radkov, he said that he doesn't know him because he doesn't have time to watch Austrian football. So good luck, Radkov, with that. And now, yes, Verona, the owners of the result of the past weekend, their last win against Napoli away happened 40 years ago, but they took that point happily, even if they let go an advantage of 2-0 before the half an hour mark. Frese's goal was a beauty with the back heel. And then Orban did not mind all the boos when he was taking the penalty, kept his cool, and put his team 2-0. But as we said, yes, they let that go in the second half. To play at home certainly is not a relief for Verona. It's 3 defeats in the last 4. But with this Lazio, which is in the middle of this inconsistency, their mind of Sarri is somewhere else. The fight with the directors, not knowing with whom he could try or not, whom he could play or not. Another double chance for me here, in this case for Verona. Double chance Verona, 1.65.
Well, trusting in the teams that are trying to survive in this Serie A, and the game of the games in Italy at the moment, Inter Napoli, probably the best 2 teams in the league, apart from Milan, right now second in the standings, but could be crucial for the title fight. We have 4 points between them, because Inter are winning all the games after the Super Cup, beat Parma, beat Bologna, beat Atalanta, Leo, but there is always this question mark this season with Kibu, and is the big games. They haven't won any big game, including the one at the Maradona where they lost, and the opposite can be said about Napoli. They are playing well in the big nights, although they dropped points last weekend against Verona. But also with Napoli, we have the caveat of the away form, when they, apart from the game against Verona this season, when they drop points is when they travel. So how do you see this crucial Inter-Napoli?
Well, I think that if Conte would have gone anyway to San Siro, trying to play with a low block after what happened with Verona, even more. And he knows that for Chibo as well, this is another test against a top team, something that we have been talking all season, either with the Serie A or in the Champions League. This is another test. I mean, to be honest, I see, of course, parity, because we are talking here about Napoli, who is defending the 𝐜𝐿𝐴 and who was until last weekend closer to Inter as they are now. But yes, I do believe that Inter is favourite, that they arrive in much better form. Or not much better, but at least their last two performances have been very good, Edu. I spoke how well they were against Bologna, and with Parma, they should have made their life easier. They had total control at the end of Tardini, but they wasted a lot of chances. They hit the woodwork twice in the first 35 minutes. They finished the game with 26 shots, including 8 on target, but they scored only twice. And Thuram's second goal came in on added time. There were a few changes to that very good performance against Bologna. Petar Susic was provided with a chance again in midfield. Then Pio Esposito started alongside Lautaro Martinez. On Esposito, it's true, he's not scoring. For him, it's just 1 goal in 16 games in Serie A. But he set it up, Lautaro, in Bergamo against Atalanta to win against Atalanta. And against Parma, he set it up Di Marco for the first goal. Di Marco is probably now, at the moment, the best left wing back in Serie A. He was the MVP on Sunday. I think last season Inzaghi, rotating so much, at times Di Marco never reached his full potential for a prolonged time. But this season he played 90 minutes in 10 of Inter's 18 matches so far, and there is much more consistency from him playing regularly. It is not a coincidence that after he scored against Parma, he ran to hug the fitness coach. Luis Enrique played as well from the start on the other wing. Chivu still waits for Dumfries to recover from injury, so he can't complain, I believe, with his options on the flying Chivu. And for Conte, it's different, because we spoke of the different injuries his side is facing, which is not an excuse for the poor first half they played against Verona. To arrive 4 points behind Inter, I don't know if it adds pressure on them, but if Inter manages to stretch the difference to 7 points when Champions League is about to return, which could add another distraction for Napoli, when for Inter is a different situation in the Champions League, a better situation for them. Things could get maybe complicated. But if this season has teach us something, is that it's one of the most unpredictable in a very long time, and teams are dropping points here and there, so things could change even if Napoli does not fare very well at San Siro on Sunday. But I'm not going to go either X1 or X2. My take here is the goals market. Goals under 2.5, odds of 1.80, my take, Edu.
Well, let's take a look at the smart bet, of course, for this very big game in Italy. Top tip is goals over 1.5 goals, 1.36. So if there are 2 goals, both the AI and you, Leo, are correct. Then double chance, 1 or 2, so not an X, not a draw. I wouldn't follow this. And also goals over 3.5. This is much more audacious. Also, not sure about this. Of course, it's 3.8, too many goals.
Actually, the reverse fixture, the one played in the Diego Armando Maradona, was the only one in the last 5 that recorded more than 2.5 goals. So if you think of a 3.5 or more than that, I don't know. I can say it now.
Yeah, me neither. Actually, we saw 3-1 in the reverse fixture, as you said, and the previous 3 between these 2 teams, all draws, including the last 2 encounters at San Siro. Well, a great game, this Inter-Napoli, of course. And for Monday, a couple of games, Genoa-Cagliari, this one for the relegation. Genoa got a point against Milan. Very important one, because they lost the 3 games before that. And Cagliari, Leo, got a draw against Cremonese.
Yes, Eduardo, they can probably reflect on each other, Cagliari and Genoa and Cagliari, but for the opposite reasons of what happened on last Matchday, because Genoa dropping 2 points and a chance of a huge win in San Siro, conceding on added time, and then missing a penalty as well on added time. And Cagliari, the opposite, rescuing a point or scoring 2 minutes before the end. It was great drama in San Siro with Stancio sending his penalty over the crossbar, maybe because he had Manian in front of him and this very good record this season for the French saving penalties. But it was a massive chance for Daniele De Rossi's team. The 3 points would have taken them above Cagliari, actually. Stancio is not a penalty taker for Genoa, but the two players who usually do take the responsibility, like Malinowski and Marin, were both taken off earlier by Daniele De Rossi. It was a very good first half for Genoa, with Lorenzo Colombo scoring his 4th of the season and his 2nd in the last 2 games. A very good start of 2026 for him. And the second half was all about Milan, and for Genoa was a case of resisting. With Verona also drawing, nothing changed for them. But after 3 consecutive defeats, it's now 2 consecutive draws, as you mentioned, for Genoa. And for Cagliari, the same applies. Nothing changed in terms of the distance with the drop zone after the 2-2 with the Cremonese. It's 2 wins, 2 draws, and 2 defeats in the last 6 for them. Under De Rossi, Genoa has scored in all their 5 home games, bar the defeat with Inter. And Cagliari scored in 7 of their 10 away matches this season, and in 4 of the last 5. That's why my take here, Genoa, Cagliari, Edu, both seem to score, yes, also of 2.2.
And the last one, Juve Cremonese. Juve still in the top 4 after beating Sassuolo 3-0. We saw Jonathan David scoring after his disaster against Lecce, and Cremonese drew with Cagliari, is the winless in 5 for Cremonese.
Yes, and that was a true leadership decision by Spalletti to keep Jonathan David in the starting 11 after what happened with that penalty against Lecce. And in the end, he scored a very good goal, a beautiful goal, and everyone, including Spalletti, squad, reserves, everyone went running to hug him. It was a very dominant display from Juve. They pinned back Sassuolo all the game in their own half. Spalletti is not still finding the ideal partner for 𝐬𝐭𝐵 behind the striker. 𝐶𝐭𝐻𝐿, Penda, Segrova, and now was Fabio Miretti's team turn to get that chance, and he scored actually and was clever many times when Jonathan David was dropping and Juventus was left without a striker in between the center backs. It was Miretti, the one making those runs to occupy the space. They are just 4th in the table, only 2 points behind Napoli, and if Inter gives them a hand, Juventus can finish Matchday 20 in 3rd position. And for Cremonese, yes, it was painful on Thursday evening with Cagliari. We had Jamie Vardy scoring again. He reached 150 goals, but the most impressive is that 116 out of those 150 goals were scored after he turned 30. Amazing. His career, he has 5 goals this season in Serie A. They went to the break 2-0 up. The game control, but in the second half, probably they dropped a little bit too much. But in a way, understandably, you have a good lead. You will try to hit or to take the advantage at the counter, but it did not work for Davide Di Nicola's team. But my take here is all about Juventus. Juventus to win, combined with goals over 2.5, odds of 2.15.
Okay, Leo, well, this is it for our new Serie A. A lot of games this week in Serie A. Let's see if we have Inter as big favorites to win the Scudetto if they are able to get the 3 points against the rivals, against Napoli. Let me know, of course, in the comments what you think, and post your tips in Oddspedia. You can participate in our tipster competitions. Plenty of money there to be made. And also, of course, you can check out our unique tool, Rivals, where you can create your own tipster competitions and challenge your friends. Leo, safe bet?
Roma Sassuolo goals over 1.5, odds of 1.30.
And the ACCA, we were let down only by 1 goal in the previous one with Milan. And
Milan,
now,
yes.
Leo?
Roma to win, Atalanta to win, Juventus Cremonese goals over 2.5. These 3 together, odds of 4.4.
All right. Thank you, Leo. Let's enjoy this Inter Napoli. Bye-bye.